The evacuation alarm screamed through the corridors of Research Station Kepler 442b, their shrill pitch cutting through the chaos like a blade. William Chen sprinted down the metal hallway, his boots clanging against the grated floor as overhead lights flickered in dying gasps. Behind him, the station groaned, a deep, metallic sound that spoke of structural failure and imminent collapse. The neutron star's gravitational anomaly had appeared without warning, tearing through local spacetime like a cosmic predator. Now it was consuming everything in its path, warping reality itself around the station's orbit. Evacuation Pod 7, a voice crackled through William's comm unit. Last pod available. Move, move, move. William rounded the corner and saw it. The final escape pod, its door still open, emergency lights bathing the corridor in crimson. 3 figures were already inside. Dr. Morrison, Chief Engineer Takahashi, and a small, trembling form he recognized instantly. Maya. She was Zythurian, one of the few alien species humanity had encountered in their expansion into the cosmos. At barely 16 orbital cycles, equivalent to a human adolescent, she'd been part of the cultural exchange program. Her skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that normally pulsed with curious greens and blues, but now they flickered erratic amber, the Zythurian expression of pure terror. "William, get in," Morrison shouted, waving frantically. William reached the pod's threshold and stopped. His trained eye swept the interior, standard 4-seat configuration, already at maximum capacity. The manual on the wall spelled it out clearly. Maximum safe occupancy for atmospheric re-entry, 4 passengers. 5 would overload the system. His gaze locked on Maya, curled in the corner seat, her 3-fingered hands gripping the armrests. Her large, opalescent eyes met his, and in that moment, William made a calculation that had nothing to do with mathematics. "Too many," he said simply, stepping back. "What?" Takahashi's face twisted in confusion. 5 passengers. The pod can't handle atmospheric re-entry calculations with overload. Gravitational stress, heat shield distribution. William's voice was calm, almost clinical. He'd run the numbers in his head instantly. "Someone stays behind." "Then we draw lots," Morrison protested. "No time." William's hand moved to the door control. Through the porthole behind them, space itself was beginning to distort, stars stretching into impossible spirals. "Maya goes. She's the youngest. That's non-negotiable." Maya's bioluminescence flashed bright white, shock and protest in Zythurian body language. She started to rise, her translator device struggling to form words in panic standard. "No, you must. I can." "Stay in your seat," William said, his voice gentle but firm. He looked at her directly and something passed between them, an understanding that transcended species. "Your people and mine, we need bridges, not casualties. You're going home, Maya." His hand slammed the door control. The last thing he saw before the pod explosive bolted away was Maya's face pressed against the porthole, her bioluminescence strobing in patterns he couldn't read, her mouth open in what might have been a scream or a vow. Then the pod was gone, a silver bullet racing toward the safety zone. William turned and walked back into the dying station, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. He made it to the observation deck, might as well see it coming. The view was magnificent and terrible, reality itself unraveling, the neutron star's gravity creating visual paradoxes that human eyes weren't meant to witness. He thought about his research, years of work on human-alien cognitive compatibility matrices, all stored in servers that would soon be exotic matter. He thought about his sister on Earth, who told him this deep space posting was too dangerous. He thought about Maya's frightened eyes. No regrets, he decided. The universe disagreed. 8 years later, William Chen stood in his laboratory at the New Tokyo University, analyzing protein folding patterns in hybrid genetic sequences. work that had grown from his Kepler 442b research, somehow recovered from backup databases. Against all probability, he'd survived. A mining vessel had detected his emergency beacon 3 hours after the station's destruction, pulling him from a maintenance pod he'd managed to reach at the last second. But survival had come with costs. His left arm was now biosynthetic, the original lost to radiation exposure. His lungs carried scarring from vacuum exposure. Some nights, he still dreamed of that collapsing corridor. The lab door chimed. "It's open," William called absently, not looking up from his holoscreen. "Dr. Chen." The voice made him freeze. He knew that harmonic quality, the slight resonance that came from Zythurian vocal architecture. He turned. Maya stood in his doorway, but not the frightened child from 8 years ago. She'd matured into her full adult form, nearly 6 feet tall, her bioluminescent patterns now flowing in confident, controlled waves of deep blue and silver. She wore the formal robes of a Zythurian diplomatic envoy, marked with symbols William recognized as high honor. "Maya," he breathed. Her opalescent eyes studied him, cataloging every change. "You survived." Her bioluminescence flickered rapidly. Joy, relief, a dozen emotions William had learned to read in his post-rescue studies of Zythurian culture. "I searched for 8 years, every database, every survivor list, and then last month I found your published research." William's biosynthetic hand unconsciously gripped the edge of his desk. "You've been looking for me." Every day, she stepped into the room, her movements carrying a grace he didn't remember. "Do you know what you did when you gave me your seat?" "I made a choice based on." "You violated every human survival protocol," Maya interrupted, her translator capturing the intensity in her native tongue. "Your species has a documented self-preservation imperative. Statistical analysis suggested 94.7% probability you would prioritize your own survival." William managed a slight smile. "I guess I'm in the 5.3%. "You are an outlier." Maya's patterns shifted to warm gold, affection in Zythurian expression. "And you changed everything." She activated a holographic display from her diplomatic satchel. Images bloomed in the air between them. News feeds, government documents, cultural exchange agreements. When I returned to Zythuria and told them what happened, that a human had sacrificed himself for an alien child, it resonated through our entire civilization, Maya explained. "We are a species that values logic, calculation, optimal outcomes. But your action was beyond calculation. It was pure altruism toward a being not of your kind." The holographs shifted, showing footage of Zythurian cities, human Zythurian research facilities, joint colony projects. My testimony became a cultural touchstone. The Council of Resonance used it to authorize full alliance protocols with humanity. Before, we were cautious partners. Now, her bioluminescence intensified. 43 joint research stations, 3 shared colony worlds, a mutual defense pact, technology exchanges that have advanced both our species by decades. William stared at the images, struggling to process. "Because I gave you a seat. Because you proved that humanity could value a single alien life over self-preservation, that your species' capacity for compassion extends beyond tribal boundaries." Maya dismissed the holographs and moved closer. "I became a diplomat because of you, William. I dedicated my life to building the bridge you believed in for 12 seconds in a corridor." She reached into her satchel and produced a crystalline object, a Zythurian memory matrix, capable of storing quantum state information perfectly preserved. This contains the complete archive of Kepler 442b's research data, every file, every experiment, including all of your work. We recovered it using Zythurian deep scan technology 3 years ago. She placed it gently on his desk. "I've been waiting for the right moment to return it to you." William touched the crystal with his biosynthetic fingers, feeling its cool surface. Years of work, thought lost, now returned. "Why now?" he asked quietly. Maya's patterns shifted to soft violet vulnerability. "Because I needed to become worthy of what you gave me. That seat, yes, but more, you gave me the belief that individuals matter, that single choices ripple outward in ways we cannot predict." She paused, her bioluminescence steadying. "You saved my life, William Chen. I wanted to help save your life's work." William looked at her, really looked. In her eyes, he saw not just the grateful child, but a leader who'd transformed personal trauma into diplomatic revolution. She'd taken his split-second decision and built a bridge between civilizations. "Thank you," he said, and meant it for so much more than the return data. Maya's patterns cycled through colors William had learned meant deep satisfaction. "There is a joint human-Zythurian colony being established in the Kepler 442 system. They want to name the cultural center after you. And," she hesitated, a very human gesture she'd learned, "they need a director of interspecies research, someone who understands both the science and the compassion required." William smiled, a real smile this time. "Are you offering me a job?" "I am offering you a chance to continue what you started in that corridor, to prove that humanity's greatest strength isn't your technology or your adaptability, it's your capacity to care for the other." Her bioluminescence blazed bright. "Also, I would very much like to work with you again. I owe you 8 years of collaboration." William looked at his laboratory, at the crystalline data matrix, at the alien diplomat who traveled light years to find him. He thought about that moment on the evacuation pod, about the calculation he'd made with his heart instead of his head. The universe had disagreed with his sacrifice then. But perhaps the universe had been wrong. "When do we start?" he asked. Maya's patterns exploded in joyful rainbow cascades. "Immediately, if you wish. Our transport leaves in 3 days." As William began making arrangements, explaining to stunned colleagues that he'd be leaving for the Kepler 442 system, he realized something profound. His choice hadn't just saved one life, it had rewritten the trajectory of 2 species. Sometimes the most human thing you can do is to see past humanity itself. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe gives you a second chance to build the future you believed in. 8 years and Maya had come back. Not for revenge, not for closure, but to say thank you and to ask him to help her change the galaxy. William Chen, outlier in the 5.3%, smiled and accepted. William's hands trembled as he stared at the iridescent scales spreading across his forearms. 24 hours ago, he had been a perfectly normal human colonist on Kepler 442b. Now, golden scales glinted under the harsh fluorescent lights of his quarantine pod, each one edged with a faint bioluminescent glow. "This can't be happening," he whispered, watching as another patch of skin hardened into reptilian armor. The medical bay of the Terran colonial station hummed with alien technology, a fusion of human engineering and Xarthi biomechanics. Dr. Maya, the station's chief xenobiologist, stood on the other side of the reinforced glass, her expression unreadable behind her protective visor. She wasn't human, though she resembled one closely enough. Her species, the Narum, had been humanity's first contact 70 years ago, and their medical expertise had saved countless human lives across the galaxy. Until now. "William, please try to remain calm," Maya's voice crackled through the intercom, her accent carrying the melodic cadence of her native tongue. "Your vitals are spiking again. Elevated heart rate will only accelerate the metamorphic process." "Accelerate it," William's voice cracked. "Maya, you injected me with the wrong serum. I was supposed to get the radiation inoculation, not whatever this is." Through the glass, he saw Maya's shoulders sag. Even across species, guilt was a universal language. She pressed one slender, four-fingered hand against the barrier between them. "The vial was mislabeled," she said quietly. "What you received was specimen Dr. 7, a genetic modifier we've been developing for the Draken." The Draken. William's mind raced through his xenobiology briefings. The Draken were a recently discovered species from the Scorpius sector, massive, winged creatures that breathed plasma and could survive in the vacuum of space. Humanity had been trying to establish diplomatic relations for months. "The serum was designed to stabilize their cellular degeneration," Maya continued, her violet eyes meeting his. "Their biology was collapsing due to genetic damage from their dying star. We created a retroviral therapy to repair their DNA, but it's species-specific. It should never have been administered to a human." William looked down at his hands again. The scales now covered both arms completely, creeping past his elbows. When he flexed his fingers, he felt a strange strength there, far beyond his normal capacity. He had accidentally crushed a metal food tray earlier, bending it like tin foil. "Should never have been administered," he repeated bitterly. "But it was, so what happens now? Do I turn into one of them completely?" Maya's face fell. "I don't know, this is unprecedented. The Draken genome is extraordinarily complex, 17 chromosome pairs compared to your 23. The retrovirus was engineered to rewrite cellular instructions at a fundamental level. In Draken physiology it repairs. In yours, it transforms," William finished. A sharp pain lanced through his spine, and he gasped, doubling over. It felt like something was trying to push its way out from between his shoulder blades. When he reached back, his fingers found two distinct protrusions pressing against his medical gown. "Wing buds," Maya said, her voice thick with horror. "William, I need you to lie down now." He stumbled to the medical cot, his legs feeling strange beneath him, stronger but with altered joints. As he collapsed onto the mattress, Maya was already moving, her fingers flying across holographic control panels outside his containment unit. "I'm initiating a full genomic scan," she said, her professional mask sliding back into place. "If I can map the changes in real time, I might be able to engineer a counteragent. But William, you need to understand, this retrovirus operates at the quantum level. It's rewriting your DNA strand by strand, cell by cell. Revering it may not be possible." The weight of her words settled over him like a shroud. He thought of Earth, of his family on Mars' colony, of the life he'd left behind to be part of this great human expansion into the stars. He had signed up for adventure, for discovery, for the chance to be part of something larger than himself. He hadn't signed up to become something no longer human. Hours passed in a blur of pain and transformation. Maya worked tirelessly outside the containment unit, surrounded by holographic displays showing his mutating genetic code. She had called in her entire team, Dr. Yoshi Chen, the human surgeon, and K-Reth, a towering Xarthi biochemist whose crystalline exoskeleton refracted the lab lights into rainbow patterns. "The metamorphosis is following Draken developmental protocols," K-Reth announced, their voice buzzing through multiple resonance chambers, "but adapted to a human template, fascinating and terrifying in equal measure." "I don't need commentary," Maya snapped, uncharacteristic irritation cracking her calm exterior. "I need solutions." William could see the dark circles forming under her eyes. She hadn't left the lab in over 15 hours. Despite everything, despite the catastrophic error that had caused this nightmare, she was fighting for him. Another wave of transformation hit. William felt his facial structure shifting, his jaw elongating. When he caught his reflection in the polished metal of a medical instrument, he barely recognized himself. His eyes had taken on a reptilian quality, the pupils becoming vertical slits. Small horns had begun to emerge from his temples. "Maya," he called out, his voice deeper now, resonant with harmonics that hadn't been there before. "Stop." She looked up from her work, exhaustion and desperation written across her features. "Just stop," he said more gently. "You've been at this for hours. You're running on fumes." "I can't stop," she replied, shaking her head. "This is my fault. I grabbed the wrong vial. I didn't double-check the label. I violated every protocol, and now you're—" "Turning into a dragon, apparently," William interrupted with a grim laugh. "Yeah, it's not ideal, but killing yourself trying to fix it won't help either of us." Dr. Chen approached Maya, placing a hand on her shoulder. "He's right. You need to rest. We'll monitor the transformation. If his vitals destabilize, we'll wake you immediately." Maya looked like she wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. She nodded slowly and retreated to a small rest area adjacent to the lab, though William could see her shadow through the frosted glass, still awake, still watching. By the 30th hour, William had stopped resembling anything human. The wing buds had fully developed into massive, membranous wings that folded against his back. His entire body was now covered in scales that shifted between gold and deep crimson depending on the light. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, his muscular frame reminiscent of the Draken specimens he'd seen in xenobiology databases. But something unexpected was happening. "Maya," he called out. She was back at her station, looking more rested but no less worried. I can feel something, the radiation." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "The background radiation from the binary star system. I can sense it. Not just sense it, I can process it somehow. It's like—" He struggled to find the words. "It's like breathing but with energy instead of air." Maya's eyes widened. She immediately began scanning. "Your cellular structure has developed specialized organelles, similar to mitochondria but fundamentally different. They're converting ambient radiation directly into usable energy. William, this is a primary Draken adaptation. Their species evolved on a world with extreme stellar radiation. They don't just survive it, they thrive on it." Over the next several days, William discovered more abilities. He could generate intense heat from his hands, hot enough to melt steel. His eyes could perceive electromagnetic spectra far beyond human range. And when he tentatively spread his wings, he felt the gravitational fields of the station itself, understanding instinctively how to manipulate them for flight. "You're not dying," Maya observed during one of their sessions. She was inside the containment unit now, having determined he posed no infectious risk. "Your physiology is stable. More than stable, it's thriving." William looked at his clawed hands. "But I'm not human anymore." "No," she agreed softly. "You're not, but you're not fully Draken either. You're something in between, something new." The ethical implications were staggering. Word of William's transformation had reached the Draken delegation, and they had requested to meet him. The Terran colonial authority was in an uproar, demanding answers, accountability, and assurances that this couldn't happen again. But in the quiet moments, when it was just William and Maya in the lab, a strange understanding had developed between them. "I should hate you," William said one evening, watching the binary stars set through the observation window. His enhanced vision could see the coronal mass ejections, the magnetic field lines dancing between the two stellar bodies. "You destroyed my life." "I know," Maya replied. "I hate myself for it." "But I don't," he continued. "Hate you, I mean, because you never gave up. You could have written me off, focused on damage control, protected your career. Instead, you stayed. You fought for me even when there was nothing to be done." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "What will you do now?" William spread his wings, feeling the air currents in the room, sensing the radiation from the stars outside. "The Draken want to meet me. They're calling me a bridge, something that might help our species understand each other better. And there's a whole galaxy out there I can experience in ways no human ever could." He turned to face her. "Come with me, as my medical advisor. You know my physiology better than anyone, and besides—" He managed something approximating a smile with his transformed features. I might need someone to make sure I don't get injected with anything else unexpected." For the first time in weeks, Maya laughed, a genuine, startled sound. "You're offering me a job after what I did to you." "I'm offering you a chance to turn your worst mistake into something meaningful," William said. "We can study this transformation, understand it, maybe even help others. The Draken civilization is dying, Maya. But this serum, the one you gave me by accident, it saved me. What if it could save them too, properly administered? What if we could refine it, make it safe?" Maya looked at the data surrounding them. Months of research, countless scans, the complete genetic map of William's transformation. A mistake that had become a scientific miracle. "I'll need to submit my resignation to the colonial authority," she said finally. "They're not going to let me practice medicine after this." "Then practice science instead," William suggested. "With me, with the Draken out there." He gestured to the stars. 3 months later, the transport ship Meridian Dawn departed Kepler 442b, bound for the Scorpius sector. On board were William, whose transformation had stabilized into a permanent hybrid form, and Dr. Maya, carrying encrypted files containing every detail of his metamorphosis. As the ship entered FTL Drive, William stood in the observation deck, his wings folded carefully behind him. Maya joined him, and together they watched the stars stretch into infinite lines. "No regrets?" she asked. William considered the question. He would never see his family in person again. His appearance would terrify them. He would never return to Earth, never walk in human society. Everything he had known was gone. But he could fly between stars. He could breathe in the void. He could be something no one had ever been before. "Ask me in 100 years," he said. "I've got the lifespan for it now." Maya smiled. "Then I suppose I'll need to extend my own lifespan to hear the answer. Good thing I know an excellent xenobiologist." As the Meridian Dawn hurtled toward unknown worlds, William felt the cosmic radiation washing over the hull, energy and life and possibility stretching out before them. The wrong vial had destroyed his humanity. But maybe, he thought, it had given him something even more precious, a future unlimited by the boundaries of what he used to be. In the end, Maya hadn't just made a mistake. She had created a miracle, and together they were going to see where that miracle would lead. The end.